tools, people, and processes have been on my mind lately. It's shown up in projects, and then when I was reading Nick's website, it was talking about tools that are built with um, incremental improvements in mind versus reliability, flexibility. I'm curious about our experience with tools, processes, and people. And Nick, why was this important to you? Why not focus a tool that would give more than incremental improvement and not be concerned about these other things?
Yeah, sure. Just having to use the software that was out there. Yeah, I won't. I guess I can't name them, but they were, like I said, by statisticians for statisticians, and the pure goal of those pieces of software seemed to be accuracy, which seems to make sense. But you get at a certain point, you get diminishing returns. So you can actually get, 95 or higher % of the benefit of that accuracy without needing all of the features and junk that they load onto the software. Yeah, so I think you need to sort of make your goal not only, you can't be a perfectionist at one thing, you need to also think of user experience, yeah, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is important. Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
Go ahead, Oz.
Well, this has shown up so much in my professional life, dealing with data and Excel as the primary tool, and seeing where something is wrong. Sometimes it's the process, sometimes it's the people, and then, sometimes it's the tool. And being able to separate that apart. And one thing that I have liked about Excel is that it is flexible. And having worked with tools, that then what happens? Business rules change. And then it takes weeks or months to get the tool to adjust. And meanwhile, people have gone rogue and done something in Excel, and then they're doing whatever they're going to do. So it was exciting to me to see that you're looking at the relationship and thinking about what you put people through when you build a tool.
Yeah.
So I do have some thoughts on that, actually. Just from I'm like a process improvement professional by trade, and whenever and some people in that trade would say, why would you create something that's less effective, right? Why would you create something that's less effective? And the argument kind of against that, which I would say is, with all of this, what you're trying to do is improve lessen the number of defects, improve output. So first off, you have to define what is output. What is it that you're trying to solve for? And I would say that what you're trying to solve for in this case isn't necessarily the absolute most accurate forecast.
Right.
You're trying to create something that people will use.
Yeah.
And the defect is that there are so many things that are out there, and I mean, and I'll get past Excel just for a moment here and then bring it back. Where you have to be a programmer, a SAS programmer, or this or that. You have to know all these extravagant tools, and really at the end of the day, what is your measure of success? Is your measure of success the most accurate thing? Certainly there's a small market for that, and it's a very pricey tool that you're selling, right? But there's a market for that out there, and go and compete against the big boys. I wish you luck. Or is what you're looking to do something? What you're looking to do? Create something for somebody like Nick and his peers, right? Who are looking at those tools, saying, "Wow, this is inefficient. You got 15 things here to select I don't need." So from a process improvement perspective, if they're not needed, not used, get rid of them. They're in the way. right? And those then become defects. Those become things that are in the way. So I bring that back up just from a process perspective, a process improvement perspective. I think first off, you got to define what is it that you're trying to fix. What is it that you're trying to, and the most accurate system out there ever isn't necessarily what you're trying to fix if people aren't using it.
Right, right. And you know, it's, man, this has me think about so much. It's like, you know, I went into a restaurant that had data issues. They'd buy food and didn't know where the food went. So now I find out they've got a restaurant-specific tool. But it's restaurant-specific in a way that it tries to deal with all kinds of restaurants. So this expensive thing, it's, you know, if you can get it working right, it would be great. But if you could get it working right, and it was for like the small corner cafe or the big 5-star restaurant that's in Reno or whatever, and now this one size fits fits the people who can hire somebody to run the damn thing.
What do you think about that, Jordan?
So, you know, not to go on a big data rant, because I love doing that, but, you know, so much of I feel like the solutions that were being sold, it's always tools. It's like rarely people, and it's rarely processes. It's almost always tools.
Jordan, let me interrupt you, because your LinkedIn post is part of all of this conversation too. I'm sorry that I didn't mention that, but yeah, your year-end predictions post was really smart, and I appreciated that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you know, I feel like, you know, we're just really obsessed with tools right now. We rarely define and solve problems as a problem of people or process. It's always, well, this tool isn't effective to get the job done, therefore we need a better tool, rather than do we actually need to test whether this tool is actually, you know, good for the people who are using it, they can understand it, does it map the process that we're interested in. And just to the capabilities of Nick's tool, and you were talking about accuracy, you know, businesses are not the Big Hadron Collider at CERN, which needed crazy accuracy to prove that the Higgs boson existed. So we're not at that level. We don't need that level of tools. What we need is something we can use. I see Oz is shaking his head in agreement. But I feel like, Nick, you haven't said a whole lot. So do you want to jump in on any of that?
I had a question for Nick. You know, to jump in. And it's when you made the distinction between the managers and the planners versus the people who use the tool. You mentioned that at the top of the show, so you can speak to all of this.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, if you try to, it's interesting. If you walk around an office, you'll see, you'll probably see a third to half of computer monitors with Excel going. If you search for an Excel-related article on Harvard Business Review, you'll find, I think there's one or two out of over 1,000. So it's something that there is this enormous gap between planners or people who try to map and create this ideal picture, process, or procurement of a business tool, versus the people who actually have to use it and actually see the end result. And the planners often, they often, usually when software or process is implemented, it's done in a short period, and the people who do that, you know, they don't have to actually follow up and find out that it didn't work, that it wasn't, that everything changed, and they actually needed something more flexible. So it's the classic top-down versus bottom-up conundrum, I guess, that we're talking about.
So then, when there's
Yeah.
the disconnect and the decider, the directors, they bring in the new fancy tool that people then resist. So then they bring in some change manager to look at the culture
Yeah.
and everything and say, "Doggone it, you're gonna use this thing."
Yeah. And look, you do need to. I don't want to just bash
Sure.
top down. You need some degree of top down because on the other side of things, we all know like there's Excel workbooks that have just shared among 12 people in an organization that have become mammoth and chaotic with no plan and thought behind it.
Sure.
So I would like to see more attention to Excel as a genuine, like people actually treating Excel not as a sort of fire extinguisher, but planning templates and actually putting their top-down thoughts into template design and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
so actually, it's funny because he said Excel is a fire extinguisher. And I was thinking that's an Oz line. But what I was wondering, so now thinking about what it takes to be a good, I don't know what the word is, developer, good user of Excel, someone who makes products for someone else. So whether it's a report for someone else or you're a consultant, could we say, and I just want to hear everyone's opinion on this, is it not enough to just be good at the tool? So you have to understand the underlying process, and you have to understand the people who use it. I mean, how far can you be an expert in those directions? Because there probably is a level that's too far. You're trying to be all things to all people. So I just wanted to hear everyone's thoughts on my ramblings there.
Well, I'm wondering if you can rephrase it so that I can.
Yeah, that's a good question. Sure. You know how many people say that in my life all the time? They're like, can you put that in the form of a question, please? So what I'm wondering is, we can say that it's easy to be on the tool side of this, right? You're good at using Excel, good at VBA, good at formulas, but you also need to be good at knowing the underlying processes, so the domain experience, and do you need to be good at understanding the people who use it? Now, the answer seems so very obviously yes, but I want to caveat that with if you are trying to do it for all people, then you're going to make a tool for all people, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And if you're too process-oriented, as some engineers are who make stuff in Excel, it's just nuts, it's just really overly complicated stuff. So where is the harmony? And is there something that you do to find that harmony, or
I'll jump in. I'll jump in first. Is it good enough to be good at a tool? And let's put personality issues aside and all that sort of stuff. Is it good enough just to be good at a tool? Yes. You're going to be limited, but there are whether it's Excel or pretty much any tool, there are technicians who have a very good career. I could think, Wozniak. I can think of a lot of people who were just very technology-driven, and they found the right people to be able to complement them, to be able to kind of move throughout life, and people needed each other. But even without that, there are certain people who can, certain engineers, certain technicians, who can sit at a desk all day long, crank out stuff, and they'll be the go-to person for something. But let me tell you something. You better be damn good. You better be on your game. You better know your stuff. If you're the go-to guy and nobody wants to rub up against you in the hallway, But I would say that your growth is pretty limited in that direction to a certain point. Now there are certain technicians who never want to move into management, who never want to kind of do all that sort of stuff, and that's cool. No problem with that. But I think just to play devil's advocate against the answer is obviously yes. I would say. The answer is no for a lot of people, and it works okay for them. But I do think that your growth, your career growth, could be limited. And if you're able to put a few other skills together, that's certainly a good thing. What do you think, Oz?
Okay, I got so many thoughts. This could be its own discussion. I'm thinking about sometimes a tool is it's part of their job. It's something that they have to do every Thursday afternoon, okay? And they just want the steps 1 through 8 to get whatever needs to be done. Okay, so and I've faced that kind of thing. A tool needs to be built, and so and so is going to run it as part of their job, and that's a different kind of a challenge. Then I really do have to understand who is this person. If they, I come across somebody who says, yeah, okay, they've got pivot tables, they can follow an array formula. Okay, good. So that's a different kind of development that I have to do than the person who does not want to do it at all. They want the steps 1 through 8, and there gets to be a place where I can't build in enough, and the company would run out of money with me trying to build all kind of protections on this thing so that it could just be handed to a person and just run.
Sorry, can I jump in there? Oh, sorry, keep going if you're still going.
The other thing is processes. Where there are established processes and is not too much ad hoc stuff going on around the process, then you can have somebody who just does steps 1 through 8. But if there are no processes, or you're still developing processes, then you can't have that person who wants to paint by numbers, because they're going to have to ask a whole lot of questions and have a lot more understanding so that they can separate the tool isn't working or something in the process isn't working, and they get their butt up off their chair and go deal with it.
Can I just comment on that with, building the sort of software that's completely rote or easy to use. There is a point where if the software is that easy to use, it's probably something that should be automated anyway. So if people aren't being challenged, if you're not making the use of, human judgment versus what an algorithm or a macro could do for them, then that just prompts that we should be actually wiping out people having to do it all together. We should have people using their unique judgment to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Jordan, or Oz.
No, I just said I would agree with that. And each situation, you have to look at what's going on. Are they open to some automation? Can they afford the automation? How big of a problem is it? Do they really want to solve it? So there's so many pieces in this, and we don't have many solutions here. But I think it's a conversation that at least needs to be started, because more money for more tools, when you got people who are scared of the tools in the first place, it's not working.